Rosa, how about you?
Yep, I think I see everybody except for Amy here, but we have a quorum, so.
I'm here. I'm here, Rosa.
Oh, there you are. Sorry. Didn't see you there.
Let's see. I saw Amy.
All right, great. Let's get our show on the road then. Catherine, are you ready?
Yep.
Dan, you start recording?
Yep.
Yep,
Oh,
you're all set to go.
Perfect. All right. So we're going to call to order Town of Brookfield Municipal Building Committee meeting on Tuesday, November 17th. And it's 7:01. And I'll turn it over to Rosa.
Okay, and I will call the special meeting of the Brookfield Board of Education to order. And we have all of our board members present tonight. And public comment will just flow through the NBC's agenda. So back over to you.
Okay. So that being said, item number 2 is approval of the October 20th NBC minutes.
So moved.
Any discussion, any corrections? Can I get a second on the motion?
Second.
All right, all those in favor of approving the October 20th minutes?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, abstain? Nobody. Okay, right on to the meat of the presentation for tonight. We're first up is, we have a presentation on photo documentation services by David Lerner of Multivista. David, can you tell us a little bit about your service, what it offers our district, and why would it be useful for us?
Sure. So, hi everybody. My name is David Lerner. I'm with Multivista. I'm the regional director for our company here in Connecticut and actually in New York. I'm an outsider to your meeting here, but I'm a bit of an insider to the state. I've been working for the state, many of the Department of Construction Services projects, City of Hartford, a lot of the municipalities in the state for the past, I guess it's about 10 years. I have a couple of friends on here and Jack Butkus with Arcadis and David Cravenzola with ONG, who we've also worked with throughout many of the years. Multivista, we are a visual construction documentation service. And what we're doing is we are documenting construction visually by linking our content directly back onto the architectural plan that all resides on a web-based system that I'll be showing you here in a little bit. And the main reason that we're being brought on board projects is because the resources that we are creating during construction, they're delivering really a superior ability to control a lot of the unforeseen costs and a lot of the risk that's inherent with really any kind of job these days. We're essentially giving access to literally any or virtually any square foot of a job in seconds, so that when these kind of issues, change orders, RFIs, rework, all those fun things start to happen, you can get to basically any place on that job to see exactly sort of the who, the what, the when, the how, and mitigate a lot of your mitigate a lot of your discovery and cost of resolution. For the town, for this project during construction, what you'll have is essentially a real-time resource that you'll be able to log into 24/7 a day. The platform will really connect you to the current job site conditions. It really depends on how frequently we are procured to be on the job site, but you'll be able to see the job sort of build from ground up from virtually any perspective. And it will also serve as a long-term facilities management tool for the school as well, which should help a lot with costs and so forth and budgets going forward once the project is complete. So that's sort of a 45-second quick description of what we do.
Does anybody have any questions, any comments, anything? Jack, can you fill us in a little bit on your utilization of services like Multivista on other projects you've been on?
Yes, as David mentioned, we've used Multivista to provide
progress documentation on a number of the Hartford projects over the last 10 years that I've been there, as well, excuse me, as well as some other municipal and state projects that Arcadis has worked on. And it has been a very good resource. Part of Arcadis's building side of the world is a claims consulting practice. And I know that our claims folks have been able to use the data should things go not quite the way you want. The data that's compiled by Multivista becomes a very good resource in case you ever have to track issues down. In fact, we've been able to actually avoid claims by being able to scroll back in time to, contractor X says that, well, so when somebody damaged, my work, blame him, don't blame me because my work isn't working. And we've been able to peel back the layers in time and show that, well, your work went in last in that particular, oh, geez. It's David. What happened to my screen? Did my internet cut out?
Okay, I didn't know if I should share my screen or not, so sorry about that if I messed you up there.
That's
Zach.
okay. It just caught me by surprise.
Okay.
But we've been able to, by peeling back the, I guess they call it exact built. It's an as built that doesn't just happen at the end of the job when everybody marks up a plan to trying to remember what they did, but it captures in photographic documentation to work as it's actually proceeding, so that you can not only get the outside view, the inside view, even the 360 view all the way up to the ceiling with the work as it's being installed, which from a facilities management standpoint, going back a few layers in my career when I was the school district administrator, to have a resource where you could actually, in essence, look through a wall to see what was there before you start the next project would have been very handy at times. So it has been a useful tool to us. And as David mentioned, the state of Connecticut has photo documentation as a standard on all the work that the state does directly for its own tenants.
All right, thanks, Jack. Hey, Jack Ludwig, have you utilized services such as these on projects you have been on?
Yeah, I have. I'm just trying to get my head around exactly what this service does. Is this basically a database of photographs, or does it also feed into, for example, a BIM model?
Well, yes. So the short answer to that is that we now have services that integrate into the BIM model if that's something that is desired. We actually now, unknown to Jack, to David as well, we also now have a full laser scanning service as well that can be integrated both into the Multivista platform and into an existing BIM model if it's needed for deviation analysis or something like that. I had planned on, if the committee would allow, to run through the system, because it is a visual platform, and I think if you see it firsthand like this, it'll connect a lot of the dots or questions you might have.
What type of time are we talking about right now?
If I can go through it in about 5 minutes, I think that'll be about it.
5 minutes would be great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Is that okay? Jack, did I answer your question, sir?
Yeah, you did. I mean, the photographic service is invaluable, no doubt about that.
Okay.
The laser scanning and feed into the BIM model I've seen used, and it's tremendously valuable, but it has been expensive.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to sit here and say that laser scanning is an inexpensive venture, but it is a very valuable service and resource, in certain circumstances, right? So we can, again, even offline, I'd be happy to talk to you about it further. So let me show the group here. So as I was mentioning, this is all an online service. It's an unlimited number of users allowed on the platform when you log in. So just sort of going through this really quickly. Your welcome screen here, your entrance into the project that you would have would be here on the left side. The right side is the content that our full-time employee construction photographers are capturing. And what's most important here is that they're uploading their imagery within a 48-hour period. So anybody that has access to the platform we'll get a notification within a couple of days to state that we were on site and to please go take a look at what we've captured. And one of the main reasons to do that is if we can discover issues before they turn into bigger problems, then we're saving, potentially a lot of money down the line in our discovery and resolution. So I'm going to just jump into some live projects here, just some things in the state here. So I'm in a project right here. This upper left-hand corner is not going to mean much to everybody right now, but this is the scope of work that we're being procured to do. On the right-hand side are the respective architectural plans that we'll be documenting from. Jack mentioned a couple of things here. When we're on a project, we are capturing both its progress and various critical milestones. So let's just jump into that really quickly here. So here's an example of our progress documentation. So we take a floor plan, right? We load it up into our system here, right? Now, what you're looking at here, each of the arrows that you see represents a single photo captured at the specific location that arrow resides. The direction of that arrow is the direction that the photograph was captured. The color is the perspective. So as you're scrolling your mouse over any of these, you'll get an immediate pop of what the current condition is or the last time that we were on the job site. Now, there's a legend down here. So we're capturing basically shots that are designated to the ground, eye level, and up at the ceiling. But when we're doing our progress documentation like this, what I want you to note here is this index, right? So when our photographer comes to the job site, they're going to walk the same photographic path each and every time that they come on, right? So they know where they're standing for their first shot, their second shot, right? Their third, fourth, fifth, and so forth. So what happens here is when you click on, if you want to look at something in more detail, and let me just adjust my screen here, right? So I can also click on that, and then what you'll see on the right-hand side is this perspective here, right? The most recent shot, and then its history over the course of construction, as you're seeing here. So I want to jump into one of those a little bit more detail. All right, so what am I looking at here? I've got an image here, and let's just open up my screen here. So from here, you'll notice that we're showing you where you're standing on a project. So I can walk around my project remotely. Very, very simple, right? So in our remote world, especially today, where we necessarily all can't be on the job site or at a meeting, we're finding that our documentation and our tool is serving as a very effective communication vehicle, connecting our project teams to the current job site conditions. Maybe more importantly here, and again, if I want to look at a perspective specifically over time, I can change the way in which I'm looking at that here, locking myself on that location, right, and giving myself the instant ability to deconstruct that perspective over time, right? Get back to the beginning when we were first on that job site. So I can go from my end here, right, or from my beginning here, right up to the end. And as you can imagine, it's a very effective tool for end of month pay apps and things like that to validate where your trades are and so forth. One of the other things that again, as a communication tool here, anything that you write in this comment box here becomes searchable. So you can track change orders and RFIs and what have you. But if at any point in time you want to communicate with a project team member, just like any social media here, you can tag anybody on that team. They'll instantaneously get this information with whatever message that you stated. Going up here for a second, I want to just briefly go to, yeah, where is it? Very good. So I can also share this information with anybody from the outside who may not have access to the system, right? I can email, print, and all of that. But when you do, what's important to notice is that when you share information with somebody, full context will be delivered, right? So you're basically your floor plan, as you had been on, this orange box of focus magnified to its pinpoint location, then the image actually displayed here on the left-hand side with the ability to zoom into about 50, 60 times magnification, okay? So just again, showing another project, another school in Connecticut. Which one do we have here? This is Ella T. Grasso. Okay, so let's just go into an arbitrary classroom. Let's just say here again, and I've got my progress documentation on the right here, but I have the ability to walk around my project at will. Jumping really fast here, guys. Let's just, well, I'm still in that project here, but to be able to see from when we were on that project to its, completion. And I'm going to have that same history for every location that I'm capturing here. Okay. I'm going to jump over here for a second because I want to show you some of the latest and greatest here. I've got another new project here. We also now have the capability of capturing our progress in a three-dimensional environment. We're using a 360-degree camera to do that. So same concept, right? We've got our symbols here and our photographic path. When I scroll my mouse, I get my most recent shot there. When I click on it, I can see the history of that perspective. But now, because we're taking a 360-degree camera, right? So the difference now is that this imagery is showing me floors, walls, ceilings, everything, right? So we're finding that we're doing a lot of our progress documentation in this 360 environment. And again, similar to the regular photo documentation, I can zip through this over time in a 360 environment, right? Get to where I'm at today. This turned out to be a gymnasium floor, which is great, right? But again, and you can see you're always being followed. Right? It always keeps track of where you are on that project. Okay. The other type of documentation, everybody, that we're doing is we're capturing also the critical milestones. What I'm displaying here may be one of the most valuable of all the documents that we're capturing. You'll notice here that we have about 3 to 4 times the amount of images. And what the title of this, your MEP exact build. So all of those invaluable in-wall and ceiling systems on your job, we're going to capture immediately before close. So we're working off the build schedule. We're coordinating the entire effort. These blue arrows here represents shots that are directed up toward the ceiling. So when we capture a document like this, what we typically do is we walk into a space and we first walk around the perimeter of that space and we capture everything in those walls. And then what we'll do is we'll come back another time to capture everything in those ceilings. But at the end of the day, at the end of the project, what the school is gaining here is an invaluable visual as-built of the delivered conditions of that critical time right before your eyes were shut. So you can imagine also being able to hand this over to facilities when the project is done, and this should be a fairly valuable resource for them as they do their ongoing maintenance and so forth. So what I've just gone over here, everybody, is a very high level of our platform, but it should give you a good taste of what we do and how we do it, right? So we are, we're on the project, all the time, capturing that progress, capturing those specific critical milestones. And you as the school, anybody, in the area, if you want to give access to, they'll be able to track their project and see everything that's happening on that job. The only other thing I might want to mention here is that we also, I don't know, guys, if there's a need for this, but we also have webcams. A lot of times we put these on the outside. I'm showing you a static image here because the because the live view, quite frankly, is at night. This is one of the correct schools in Connecticut that is up. But we install these, and this is just sort of an archive. Every 15 minutes, these webcams, which are live, will take a snapshot. And then as far as another deliverable here, it will also create a time-lapse video. So you'll be able to come on to the platform and basically see your project sort of come out from the ground up. And this is something that you can save to your hard drive at any point in time, but it's part of the webcam deliverable. All right, so I think that's about it. There's the only other thing I can show you if you'd like, but we also, along with this whole system, there is a mobile app. The mobile app does exactly what you've just seen on the desktop. The point is that you can bring on your mobile app, you can log into your webcam, you can log into the project, you can pull up a plan, you can look at the images, and you can also take photos directly from your phone and pin those to the same plans that we are. So we give you a complimentary self-performing app that allows you to add content to the platform, which obviously would increase the value all around.
All right, well, David, thank you very much.
Okay.
We'll be going through this with both our OPM, our CM, the Board of Education. Probably not tonight because we have a healthy agenda tonight, but probably at next month's meeting.
That's perfectly fine. Yeah.
And we look forward. We'll get back in touch with you. But thank you again for coming this evening and letting us know about your service and how it could be valuable to us.
Everybody, I really appreciate the time. I wish you all the best of luck. It's an exciting time. I know what's behind in terms of the planning that goes through some of these things, the years that it takes. And finally, you're out of the ground, and it's a very exciting time. So I wish you all the best of luck. If anyone needs to reach me, Jack and David both have my contact information. But thank you for your time tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thank you again, David.
Okay.
Thanks, Dave.
All right. Well, that was a great presentation. Again, I think tonight's probably not the night for us to, go through the finer points of that service. But I think at December's meeting, as we have a little bit of a lull in what would be going on after going to the state, would be a fine time to kind of discuss the pros and cons, the value to O&G, the value to the architecture team, and to see if we can find any other efficiencies to help offset the cost. So anybody else have any questions or comments on the presentation?
Well, I just add that when we did Guilford High School, we partnered with O&G, and we used that webcam service that documented the project going to completion. So O&G has some experience with it too now.
Great. All right, hearing no other comments, let's move on to item 3B, presentation of the construction documents that will be going to OSCGNR for tomorrow for submission to the state. And we're receiving this presentation in conjunction with the Board of Education. At the end of the presentation, and actually it's going to be at the end of all of the updates, because we have updates from Tecton, we have updates from Arcadis on budget, and from O&G on schedule. At the end of all of those presentations, then at least the MBC would entertain a vote on our approval of the documents, and then followed by the Board of Ed when it's appropriate on their agenda. So without further ado, Jeff.
Point of order on that, Paul. I'm sorry to
Pardon?
interrupt. The Board of Ed has public comment on their agenda prior to the approval. So we will either have to move our public comment up or at least insert Board of Ed comment before that.
Why would, we're kind of they could wait until the end of our meeting, do their public comment and have their vote. The votes don't have to be, concurrent. They can be consecutive in time.
No, then we'll just have to move their approval down past our public comment then. One way or the
Yes.
other, the agenda will have to be changed.
Well, yes, we'll modify our agenda, so their review and approval is at the end.
Okay, fair enough. Thanks.
Okay. All right, so Eddie, Jeff?
All right, good evening, everyone. Hopefully you can see my screen and hear me.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, great. I am going to try my best to go very quickly through the early part of the presentation because it's a lot of images and documentation that you've seen before, so I don't want to belabor it. And to save some time for the latter part, but I'm happy to go back over anything. As Paul mentioned, we are going to the state tomorrow morning, state Office of School Construction Grants and Requests. So tonight is really to basically sign off on everything that we've done over the last year and a half with the project. So starting off with, the point is that over the last year and a half, as I said, we've heard from you, lots of meetings, lots of get-togethers, lots of presentations where we've talked about what needs to go into the school, both from a technical and an aspirational standpoint. And so the point of today is to try and show you that we have met the requirements that you've told us you needed for your building. We are still on schedule. I'm not going to go over this much because Laurel is going to cover this later, but we are still on track to try and receive our approval to go out to bid in December. We've received all of the necessary town approvals to be able to go into the state tomorrow. So we're looking forward to that meeting. Last week, we sent to the Board of Ed and the Building Committee a very healthy package of information. This is everything that's required to go to the state. So nearly 400 sheets of construction documents and our technical specifications. So I wouldn't expect that most of you have had the time to go through it and digest it all, but we're going to try and synthesize it into a little more digestible manner for this evening. As I mentioned, the site design, this is an image you've seen before, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this other than show you we've maintained the site. We've talked some about our sustainable elements, from the insulated concrete forms to the native plantings and rainwater harvesting and establishing the stream channel. We've talked about safety and security and how that would be set up in terms of establishing zones and boundaries around the site, how traffic flow works, all of that. Again, this is all things you've seen before. In the exterior, our inspirational image quote here that the building and site really need to be able to speak to each other, and they need to relate to one another. And so the use of natural materials on the outside of the building, the playful forms to really make sure it feels like an elementary school, but a building that feels like it's very much part of the site with the forms and the materials that are used throughout the expression. Coming onto the backside, again, the playful nature, the patterns in the brick, natural materials, the wood, the copper color. Right. Again, building plans, this is largely as you've seen before in terms of the overall organization to the building. Two main entrances, the concept of the school within a school, younger students on the ground floor and older students up above. Assembly spaces kind of front and center. And then translating the secure design elements into the interior of the building with really being able to compartment spaces off so that anybody coming into public areas wouldn't be able to get to programmed spaces, and also so that building can be used after hours, with each of the major areas being able to be compartmentalized so that occupants can, or visitors can get to one section of the building without being able to really get through the rest of it. Okay, so the way this is going to work for the remainder of the presentation is really we're going to go kind of major space by major space. So for each of these, we'll have, as you see, a key plan to be able to help locate you so you know where in the building the space is, a little bit of a blow up so that you can see a little more detail on the space, and then the programmatic requirements that we've heard throughout the process, and to express to you from a metric standpoint that we've incorporated everything that we've heard is desired. For some of the bigger public spaces, we'll also have some 3D imagery for you to see. So first, the main hall. We've talked about this since very early on, that the main priority here was to be able to look through the space to the exterior landscape beyond, to see the hillside and the trees, a high degree of visibility to the adjacent public spaces, in this case, the media center to the left and the multi-purpose to the right, and you'll see each of those spaces in further detail as we go. As I mentioned, the natural materials palette that brings the exterior design into the building, lots of natural light, and then materials that are durable and also acoustically properly designed. So this is a sectional, a cutaway view looking at one side of the main entrance hall. So to the left is the main entrance, to the right is the courtyard beyond. You're looking, you see the glass looking into the two-story media center. The wood paneling, continuing the feel of the materials from the outside, the wood beams from the canopies, playfully sculpting the space inside the main hall. Okay, moving on to the multi-purpose space. An operable partition that we can open up to the main hall for public events, so that if there's an event taking place in the multi-purpose space, it can spill out. Primarily, the space is going to be used as one of 4 gym spaces in the building. There is a need programmatically for almost 4 spaces to be used full-time throughout the day. So storage for athletic equipment, but we know the space is also going to be used for production. So connecting to the stage on the right side. Blackout shades so that we have natural light, but we have the ability to dim the space. Theatrical lighting, bar servicing the stage on both sides of the stage, actually, on the cafeteria side as well. But house lighting to be able to have perimeter pathways around the seating, differently controlled from the rest of this lighting in the space. Connections to the music rooms, as we know that the space will be used for rehearsal, for larger groups of orchestra and band. And then the acoustical treatment, again, that has to work with both functions, for both the academic, the gym function, and the performance, and a seating capacity of 250 seats. A view of the multi-purpose space, so the glass on the left side opening up to the main entrance hall, and to the right you see the stage, the dual-sided stage, so you're seeing the cafeteria beyond. Okay, music and practice rooms. 2 large rooms. They can be used either for band or for choral instruction, so providing flexibility. Each accommodating 30 students, a little bit larger than a typical classroom. 2 practice rooms with 5 students each in between. Sinks provided in all 4 of those rooms to be able to help with cleaning of instruments. And a shared storage room that is accessed by both music rooms for instruments, music, stands. Both spaces with direct access to the multi-purpose space for larger rehearsals. Related to the music is the art program, which is just a little bit further down the hall. This exists on 2 floors. The music is only on the first floor. Art is both downstairs and upstairs. So the teaching area, like all the other classrooms, needs to accommodate 24 students. We have a considerable amount of storage both inside the art room as well as a dedicated enclosed storage room. Both rooms have hand washing and deeper utility sinks with plaster traps for all. A kiln is provided for the second floor art room because the younger students, that's not really quite part of their curriculum. And then upstairs is also a maker space, which can be used, it's a very flexible room. It can function as a swing classroom if needed, but it also has a higher concentration of outlets for technology-driven projects. So if there are workbenches or robotics that want to take place in that room, there's certainly the option to do that. There's also a small space adjacent to the maker for video and audio production for green screen and other functions of that nature. Okay, main cafeteria. We talked about early on was really this is a very large student population, and to try and feed everybody all at once is no small feat. So to have 2/3 of the student population served in this main cafeteria, the other 1/3 in the satellite cafeteria, which we'll show you in a little bit. So approximately 816 students in grades 2 through 5 would be accommodated in this room. We're assuming 3 lunch waves is what we've been talking about all along, so a capacity of 272 with 2 serving lines. Currently, we are showing seating for 288, so we have enough to take care of the 3 waves. A full-service kitchen that has direct access to the loading dock. And as I mentioned, with multi-purpose, we've got access to the stage here, both stairs and ramp from both spaces, and we have theatrical lighting in both spaces. Also, a key part of this is that the doors on the bottom, it's a separate entrance that can be used for public events. So if there was a PTA event or any type of after hours, this could be used without coming through the main entrance. We do know that this is projected to be the space used for voting. And so there is storage not only for chairs and tables, but for voting equipment as well. And when voting does occur, they'll be able to use bathrooms and directly off of the space. Basically, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but just to the left and below, so without having to traverse through the rest of the building. And a view of the cafeteria, pulling in the imagery from the ecosystems that we're using in the neighborhoods that you've all seen throughout. And again, the use of natural materials, sculpted ceilings echoing what we're doing in the main entrance hall. Okay, so back to the main entrance hall, the other side. This is the media center, as I mentioned, exists on 2 floors. This was very critical portion to maintain, to make sure that we had proper amount of stacks, and also the way the schools function, the concept again of the school within a school. So the younger students on the ground floor and the older students upstairs. We were told 13,000 and 17,000 volumes respectively needed for the first and second floor. And as you can see, we are exceeding both of those. There's a classroom space accommodating 24 students with interactive technology on each floor. A circulation desk, a workroom and office, again on each floor. Clear sight lines, we understand, was a critical component for the staff to be able to look through and be able to visually administer the entire space. It's a 2-story space with a connecting stair and a tiered seating we're calling a learning stair that basically fronts, just as we have in the multi-purpose, we have an operable partition here directly opposite, so that if there was an event, you could have a speaker out in the hall, say an author, children's author was coming. So it's tiered stadium seating that's integrated with the stair. Also adjacency to the elevator, it's basically just up and to the left, so that if there is a need for bringing books from one level to another or other materials, that it's easily able to do that without having to lug up and down the stairs. A view inside the media center. So this is, you see the tiered stadium seating in the background. This is the circulation desk. Really, again, trying to bring the natural elements in, the wood, the metal from outside, and playing off the forms of what we're using for the canopies and the bridges crossing the stream channel. For the administrative areas, much like art and media, again, the school within a school, we have separate facilities on each floor. Clear supervision of the main paths of circulation, both inside and out. Basically, it's such a large building, we want to make sure that we have control points where we need them. So on the first floor, it's here, front and center, administering over basically the bus and parent drop-off. On the second floor, it's right at the top of the monumental stair inside the main entrance hall, so that anybody coming up to the second floor is immediately seen by staff. Both floors, there's a principal and assistant principal office and a conference room. There's reception, waiting area, workroom, and record storage on each floor, and faculty mailboxes and toilet rooms within the suite. So that was definitely a key priority of making sure that bathrooms were available without having to travel all throughout the school. This is a view down the corridor on the first floor. On the left, you see kind of glass going into the conference room and a nice display area, the skylight. This is a single-story portion of the building, a little lower structure than the rest, so we're taking advantage of that to bring natural light and to have the materials from the exterior work their way down, a bench and display cases and spots for graphics and tackable surfaces for display. Okay, 2 health suites. This was another component that was definitely critical to maintain with the large number of students, that not having everyone in a single health area, making sure that there was double the staff to be able to handle the number of students. Both health areas are located immediately off of the 2 entrances, the main entrance and the kindergarten and pre-K entrance, so that parents who are picking up a sick child don't have to travel throughout the school. The spaces have visual administration so that any parent coming to pick up their kid is seen directly by staff. Both rooms have a main room with cots and curtains for dividing, storage, 2 sinks, 1 for clean, 1 for dirty. Also a private room that can be used for consultation or private phone calls. Can also be used for isolation of students if that ever is needed. Both suites have a dedicated storage room. Heard time and again, just can't provide enough storage. And also a toilet room with sufficient space for changing to be able to take care of changing clothes for any students who may need that. And then the psychiatrist and social worker offices are immediately adjacent to the suite. Both suites. There's, again, a duplication in the program. Okay, the gymnasium, as I mentioned, we need 4 gym spaces. So the gym serves as 2 with an operable partition in the middle, a full operable partition, not a curtain. Included in the space is a full-size high school basketball court with 6 motorized goals. We also accommodate high school volleyball, which has a higher ceiling clearance requirement. We have telescoping bleachers on one side and multiple rooms for storing equipment. We have the ability to, with the use of the insulated concrete form walls, to be able to have a pretty good amount of flexibility for where we accommodate the rock climbing and ropes. We're putting in interactive technology so that there are projectors that will throw either onto the wall or to the floor, more likely the floor, to be able to have images that can be incorporated into the curriculum of the space. And then the locker rooms include showers so that, as we've talked about many times, that the building can be used as a warming center in case of not an official emergency shelter, but certainly in cases of natural disasters, a place where people can go and get a hot meal in the cafeteria and get cleaned up and be somewhere that's safe and warm and powered. And a PE office large enough to have 4 staff inside. An image of the gymnasium is actually, it's been updated a little bit. There's a little more color now and some pads, but a view of the gym and in its fully open state. And you see, again, bringing in large quantities of natural light and visibility to the spaces beyond. So that next space beyond is gross motor skills. That's our final physical activity space. Just like the main entrance hall, it is in a secondary entrance, and so we wanted that view through the space to the exterior landscape. So the glass leading out to the courtyard beyond. Again, the high degree of visibility to both the gym and then the cafeteria, the K1 cafeteria that's to the left of the space. We wanted to use forms and color to, again, continue the concept of nature, but in a more fun and playful way. And again, natural light, durable materials here that are also safe for younger students. And really one of our kind of favorite spaces here, using plywood to create some tree trunks and using curved clouds in the ceiling and next door in the lights as well to suggest a canopy of trees and a floor pattern that suggests shadows being cast across the space. And again, you see the natural light, the view to the courtyard beyond and the distance and the visibility into the cafeteria adjacent. So the cafeteria is the final of the public spaces. So similar to the main cafeteria, this is taking care of the other third of the population, so 408 students in grades K and 1. Again, 3 lunchways anticipated. Capacity of 144 will take care of, in the seating, will take care of the 136 that we need. There is a satellite servery here up at the top part of the plan. The intent is that all of the food will be prepared in the main kitchen and then brought by cart and served to the students at this location. Just like the main cafeteria, I didn't mention before, but there is play areas directly immediately outside so that when students are finished with lunch and they go out to recess, they don't have to traverse throughout the building. And in both spaces, there's interactive technology so that the spaces can be used for presentations. A view inside that cafeteria, continuing the imagery that you saw in the gross motor skills next door, with a large amount of natural light facing the courtyard. Okay, so getting into the classrooms. At each of the entrances, we've been referring to the classroom wings as neighborhoods. They all tie in with imagery and branding and colors of various ecosystems. At the entry part is seating for breakout areas, which you'll see in just a second. A 2-story space to enhance the connection between the floors and allow more transparency and borrowed light so that you don't have a closed-in claustrophobic feeling. An interactive technology that will accommodate presentations, teaching, and display, and that will look like this. So you see here a 2-story, this is on the first floor, looking up, a 2-story space connecting up to the floor above, a projector mounted inside the vertical face of the opening that would project onto the wall leading up, and that could be customizable for any amount of content if a teacher wanted to lead a small group, if that wanted to be display of student artwork, if it wanted to be announcements or showing videos, a multitude of flexibility there. What you're seeing here on the right side is the view down the corridor of one of the classroom wings, and then on the left is the connection to other classroom wings. A sectional view through the 2-story classroom corridors. So the space we were just looking at is on the left. Again, you see the colors and the imageries of the ecosystems of the various neighborhoods. In this case, it's the tundra and the grasslands. Another 2-story space, this with a skylight so that there's natural light being brought into throughout the corridor. And at the end, breakout spaces with operable partitions from the classrooms to be able to expand the classroom into the corridor, and you see the interactive technology at the ends. Okay, so the program requirements for the classrooms, 10 classrooms per grade, each accommodating 24 students. We have pairs of classrooms connecting with an interior door you see here in case of need for security and also for collaboration between classrooms if there are group projects. The breakout space at the end, as I mentioned, that we have an operable partition here leading to this area. Natural light, really prevalent throughout the space with the skylight, the glass at the end of the corridor like we had in the main entrance spaces, and natural light in the classroom that's coordinated with the lighting. So we have daylight sensors so that we're not needlessly turning on artificial light when the natural light is is still enough to illuminate the space. Acoustical control with our materials and picking mechanical systems that have low equipment noise to make sure that we have as quiet a room for learning as possible. Smart boards are adjustable height to be able to accommodate both teachers and young students. We have writable and tackable wall surfacing throughout the rooms. Cubbies within the classrooms, not lockers in the corridor, which you'll see those in a second. And storage for both instructional materials, and we have a spot for a Chromebook cart if one is desired, with dedicated outlets and power to be able to charge within each room. And flexible spaces that really can be used, set up for a multitude of different learning configurations. So a little bit more of a functional view here, but you see on the left, this cubbies inside the space with instructional storage for the teacher above. The smart board, again, adjustable height, but full height writable wall covering so that really you're not limited to just where the board is. Another view inside the classroom, this is a tackable, what you see in blue is a tackable surface. The storage here, full height, as well as a sink in every classroom. A lower ceiling area with recessed lighting to create a little bit more of a cafe feel, soft seating for breakout areas, and an interesting product for the doors, kind of a honeycomb, if you will, that when you're standing right in front of the door, you can look in and see immediately adjacent to the teacher. But as soon as you move off to the side, vision is obscured. So in times of lockdown, basically people, as long as they get out of a few feet away from the door, they won't be visible to people inside the corridor. Okay, within each neighborhood, so every one of the 6 classroom wings, core spaces located centrally in the neighborhood. What we heard from the teachers was the greatest gift you can give us is the gift of time, not making students have to wander throughout the building. So having special education resource, speech, a faculty area with centralized storage for instructional materials that are used a little more intermittently and not kept full-time within the classroom. And then toilet rooms, both for students and for faculty. And you see the toilet room inside the faculty suite and multiple user rooms for both boys and girls on each neighborhood. So that the idea being that it's very centrally located. If you ever need to bring a student for a breakout, an intervention, they're within relatively short distance of every classroom within the neighborhood. A quick view of the kindergarten and pre-K, the wing on the left on the first floor. We have 10 kindergarten and 2 pre-K classrooms, but they have identical amenities so that there's flexibility for bubble years. If only 9 kindergarten is needed, you could expand the pre-K program, and vice versa. If you needed more kindergarten classrooms, you could house the pre-K elsewhere and accommodate up to 12 kindergarten classes. They're larger rooms. They're set up for more center-based learning. We have dedicated rooms, again, for the cubbies within the class, and a shared toilet room with a connecting corridor so you don't have to worry about accidentally walking in on someone. And a shared reading nook, another breakout area with natural light and built-in seating. And a nice little feature here, we have radiant flooring throughout this wing, so students we know are going to be on the floor a lot more, and so providing a little bit more thermal comfort. All right, getting towards the end here. Special education, these elements are duplicated on the first and second floor. So these are spaces that, in addition to the ones that are in each neighborhood, serve kind of the larger population. So we have the ELC and the OTPT. Those are both larger spaces that are accommodating more gross motor functions. As requested, we have a toilet room in the ELC immediately in the space, and then a millwork with sink in the OTPT. We also have ceiling attachment for swings in OTPT. We understood that was that came up many times to have that as a requirement, so the structure will accommodate it. We have 2 sensory rooms and one social emotional room on each floor. Those are a little more private in terms of giving students a kind of more of a one-on-one or two-on-one sort of basically a place to kind of calm down and recenter themselves. We have tunable colored lighting in all in all three spaces on each level, and then durable and safe materials in all spaces. So these are the locations on the first floor, and essentially the same program on the second floor, a little more centrally located so that they're accessible from each of the neighborhoods. Okay, so with that, I think that's really, Jack, I'm going to turn this over to you to talk about where we are in terms of project budget, if that's okay.
There's my mute button. All right, as we've discussed many times, the intent of the project was to provide for the expanded student population while not compromising the level of quality that was expected by the town. In going through the estimate reconciliation project between O&G and the architect's estimator, I would have to say that they were remarkably on target with each other. We did a lot of note comparing at the design development stage, which led into, I think, a more successful effort by both in the construction documents. As we went through, again, accommodating the extra 120 students added square footage to the building. We have, in taking account all of the facets of the project, not just the brick and mortar, but also accommodating the technology, the furniture, and equipment needs of the additional square feet and the additional students, and maintaining a 5% of construction cost owner's contingency value, which is prudent at this stage of development. We've come in at about $3.4 million over the original project budget. I had, in previous conversations with some of the committee members, I thought we had grown by as much as 20,000 square feet, but in fact, Tecton was able to hold the line and find efficiencies and keep the project growth to just over 10,000 square feet. If we do a gut check to see where that project budget growth stacks up against other projects, the Office of School Construction Grants has their own in-house rule of thumb that they anticipate that we should be able to do quality schools within $450 a square foot project cost. So 10,000 square feet at 450 a square foot, that's 4.5 million. And bringing all the needs of the additional population across the finish line with the design, accommodating furniture technology and equipment, and maintaining, the safety factor of a 5% contingency, we're at 3.4 million. So we're significantly or comfortably under even what the state would use as a rule of thumb number for the amount of square footage growth that we had. So I think the design team has worked very well in maintaining the expectations that the town had provided to them. We have additional detail on budget. If anybody has questions later, I can go to the more detailed sheet, but I think I don't want anybody to fall asleep. But the big takeaways are that we are penciling in that $81.58 million number, which we will not do anything with until after bids come in. We have hopes that with the current state of the construction market, that prices have been coming in a bit more competitive than they were, say, even 6 months ago. And so we may not need all of that 3.4 in order to do the right job for the schools. So that'll be assessed once the bids are in and reconciled. Also within this dollar value, we have a portion some monies that will be a contribution by this project to the town's water main installation project that was approved last week at the Board of Finance. They committed that they would bring the line all the way up to the school, and there are some other residences that need to tap a utility water line. So there is a contribution from the school project that would be the equivalent of what the town's share of putting new wells on this property would be. And by doing so, we have the assurance that we'll have high quality water long term without any concern about anything untoward happening to these new wells that we had intended to install. Also in this budget are dollars that will go towards the expected removal of portable classrooms at Wisconsin and the ultimate relocation of the ball fields that had been on this site and that will be relocated elsewhere in town. So we have a budget for those field replacements, I call them, that's factored into this number as well. Are there any questions regarding the budget?
Hey, Jack, I had a question. We're supposed to get a grant from Eversource for depending on the energy usage index that the project's going to have. Is there any information on that, and has it been factored into the budget? It could be a couple $100,000, as I understand.
Back in Brad could speak more specifically to what they think that amount of incentive will be. And back in the good old days, there were ways where you could take that check and put it someplace where you could still benefit from it. The state understands that these are standard offerings by the various utility companies around the state, and they actually expect you to go after it. In fact, the auditors look for it now. And if even in plan review, if you don't speak to the fact that you have signed up for the incentive program, the state wonders why not, because that's free money for everybody. So what the state does is they take, let's say it was $200,000. At whatever our reimbursement rate is, the town would get that level of benefit by reducing the bottom line. And the remaining portion, that's paid by the state would benefit the state in that percentage. So essentially, when the check comes in from the utility, it gets deposited into the project account, and the state takes that number right off the bottom line cost and then gives you your cost share on what's left. So there's no free lunch. There's no way we can have the state pay for better equipment and then still benefit from the incentive payments from the utilities. So, but we do get the benefit of lower long-term costs. Brad, is there an estimate at this point as to what the incentive might be?
Yeah, so we're currently wrapping up our energy model that we'll submit to Eversource along with the all the paperwork that goes along with it. Conservatively, you can assume $150,000 that you'll probably get back. It could be more. We'll know better once we can finalize all that paperwork. And then we have to go through a review process where Eversource will review our model with a third party. And you kind of go back and forth a couple times till you settle out, and we'll have a better idea. But yeah, it could be $150,000 or more.
So in the end, that'll be a little bit less that the town needs to borrow in order to fund the project. It doesn't become a windfall for us.
Okay.
All right, anything else on the project budget? All right, Eddie, why don't you continue on?
Okay, so that's really, I apologize for being a bit long-winded. Hopefully I didn't put you to sleep, but the point was to show you that, again, to illustrate that we've met the needs that we've heard throughout the last year and a half, and we've achieved your hopes for the school. So any questions you might have, happy to entertain them in terms of the project design, anything that I might have skipped over or anything that I did present that wasn't clear enough. Be happy to entertain what you might have to ask about.
Hey, anybody have any questions on Tecton's portion of the presentation and de facto Arcadis's presentation of the budget? All right, hearing none, I would like to entertain a motion to move items 3C and 3D in that order to the end of the agenda. And the reason being is, again, I would like the MBC to approve the project only after the BOE gives us their blessing that the project met the programmatic requirements that they set forth at the beginning of this project.
So moved. Second.
Okay, all those in favor of moving items 3C and 3D to the end of the agenda?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, any abstentions? Hearing none, motion passed. Okay, so Arcadis, Jack, do you have anything else to give us an update on at this point?
No, other than invoices, which will come a bit later. I think we've covered all the necessary points.
All right, Laurel, Dave? You're up.
Good evening, Laurel Purcell with O&G Industries. I just want to give you a big picture of where we are schedule-wise. We are looking to start work on site early March of next year, which is literally 4 months away. So we're getting down to the end here from the design side. The current anticipated date of going out to bid is early December, December 10th. We were trying to get out on the street a little bit ahead of the holidays, because if people have interest in our project, they could start working on it before the low activity that we typically see between the Christmas and New Year holidays there. So all those end of the year type of holidays. So we are trying to get on the street early December. And then just a heads up, when we're done with the bidding, we will be looking to have the building committee approve and award a couple of bid packages that are critical, while the rest of the bids, you'll have all the numbers when we ask you to make that decision, but just to get our site and our concrete contractors going as quickly as possible, we'll be looking at that. So there'll be lots of activity over the next 4 months as we prepare to start construction. And I'll be happy to answer any questions that anybody has on schedule.
Yeah, Laurel, this is Jack Ludwig. I had a question. Your main, your detailed construction schedule, when did you intend to issue that? Was it, you're going to have that before you go out for bids?
Yes, it's actually in the documents. If you have access to the project manual, and I don't know how Eddie's making that available to the entire building committee, electronically, it is in the bid it's in these documents right now. It does exist as we speak. So if you wanted to take a look at it, if you had access to an electronic file of the project manual, or we can just send it out separately.
Let me talk to Eddie about it, and I'll see if I can get it through him. That'd be fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's fine. Happy to. The front end that Laurel's referring to came out after we did the distribution last week, so it wasn't in the specs that we sent on last Tuesday, but we can follow with. We have the documents now. We can send that out.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, if you can set up a share file or a Dropbox that the membership can log into and pull those documents off, I'm sure they're healthy in size.
Yeah, it's not too bad, but yeah, something that's too big to email. I'll set that up.
All right. And Jack, just so you know, I think both Catherine and I were having trouble with your mailbox this week and being, trouble getting in contact with you, right, Catherine?
Yeah, no, he got back to me and said he got it, so that was good.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, I got all the information she sent out, so I don't know why the message bounced back, but I have all the information.
Perfect. Glad to hear it. Okay, anything else on O&G's quick schedule update?
Nope.
I'm
Thank
sure
you.
we'll be hearing a lot more from Laurel in the forthcoming months as we're going out to bid, as bids are coming in and we're setting the GMP.
Yep.
Okay, so that ends that. Communications, Catherine, do we have any outside communications?
No.
Okay, very well. Back to Jack Butkus then with invoices. And everybody should have received an invoice package yesterday, I believe, or earlier today. Arcadis was late with reason this month getting it out to us, so hopefully that won't stall any of the invoices.
All right, let me let me share my screen.
Flip through to
And here we are. We have a series of invoices tonight totaling $240,331.54. First off is Legal Services, Robinson and Cole. They were the firm that was working with the general conditions and the agreement between the building committee and O&G Industries in the amount of $1,431. Next, we have environmental services invoice for Eagle Environmental. This is concerning the analysis and testing of hazardous materials at the existing Huckleberry Hill School, $9,247.50. Colliers International, who is our commissioning agent, progress payment for their work, $2,230. Architectural services for Tecton, $192,038.42, including some printing costs. Arcadis monthly bill for October, $20,000. And monthly pre-construction services draw by O&G, $15,384.62.
Hey, Jack, if I'm not mistaken, all of these invoices are within current contracts that we've already approved or that we're going forward with, correct?
That is correct.
So if nobody objects, I would make a motion to approve them all at the same time, make a motion to approve all invoices as presented by Arcadis in the total amount of $240,331.54.
Second. Okay, so Jack, scroll back up a little bit. So I'm gonna just rattle them off as all those in favor of the motion as presented for invoice to Robinson and Cole in the amount of $1,431, Eagle Environmental in the amount of $9,247.50, Colliers International in the amount of $2,230, Tecton Architects in the amount of $192,038.42, invoice for Arcadis in the amount of $20,000, and invoice for O&G Industries in the amount of $15,384.62. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, all those opposed or any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion carries.
Okay. And
All
we
right.
have no new purchase order requests or no purchase order increases to deal with tonight.
Okay, great. Okay, so coming back now to after invoices, do we have any new business on the agenda prior to going to our public comment? All right, public comment now for the Municipal Building Committee on the items that were on our agenda this evening.
Dan, do you see anything?
There's only one person here that I don't recognize, and nobody's got their hands up at the moment.
Okay. The 860 number. Okay, thanks.
Okay, so Rosa, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, is there any public comment for the Board of Education? Okay, I'm going to assume no. So we can move on to the construction document approval. Does any board members here have any questions for Tecton or the NBC? Okay. I actually, just because Dr. Burrell's on the phone here, I know you've gotten a chance to take a look at everything and you've been closely involved in this. Could you just sort of, does this meet our ed specs, everything that you've expected out of the project is there as presented? I'd like to just get your opinion on it for the record.
Yes, Rosa, thank you. The architects and the NBC working together with our team, our school team, nailed it. Everything in the ed specs is accounted for in the project, and not only did we meet the ed specs, we were able to adjust, as Jack discussed, the additional classrooms with the increase in projected increase in enrollment that we're seeing, and we're just thrilled with the beauty of the design as well and the functionality. So yes. Thank you all.
Thank you, John.
Bob, I saw you come off mute. Did you have a comment or question?
Oh, I think they did a great job.
I do too. I think it looks really great. It's impressive. So Amy, do we have a motion?
Yep. I will make a motion that the Board of Education approve the construction documents and estimate for Phase 1 building construction for the new elementary school project for submission to the Office of School Construction Grants and review for their review and approval.
Second.
Thanks, Bob. Any further discussion on this? So let's proceed to vote. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion's unanimous. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much from the Board of Education side, Rosa, Dr. Brill, for your kind words. I know the team members, the principals, everybody that you met with to review the program with at the end of the design phase. You know, we had a few minor questions that were and few tweaks that we made, but I think everything was very well received. Thank you to your staff for being so accommodating, especially with COVID. You know, in participating in the meetings as much as they could in person and then in Zoom. I know it wasn't an easy or an ideal process, but the accommodations that the Board of Ed gave to the entire design team really helped the process along. So thank you.
And thanks again, Paul. The design folks from Tecton and their associates, as well as the NBC and working very closely with you and Josh. I can't thank you enough for your leadership. It really has been an incredible process, and to be at this moment is incredible. 4 months away from groundbreaking. I mean, it really is. I mean, this has been decades in the making. For those that have been in the community a long time, can tell stories about talking about looking to improve the facilities and so forth. And you know, my first year was in summer of 2015, Paul, when you were still on the Board of Education, and we've been working toward this all this time, 5.5 years later. So it's just amazing. And you know, I'm looking at Colette there and all the work we were doing as well. So it's just, and obviously all our veteran board members who've been a part of this, and our new board members who are now on board with all of this. It is super exciting for everybody. Really, really. I was just so excited thrilled for the kids and the faculty and staff that are going to be able to work there. It's amazing.
It's a wonderful time. It's an exciting time, and groundbreaking is going to be great. I really, you know, none of us really can wait. It's it'll be fantastic experience and a great day for this town of Brookfield. Rosa, one quick question before we move on to the NBC's approval. Have you gotten anywhere with the school naming?
Actually, we have the chair of the naming committee on right now, so maybe he can provide us a little update.
Yeah, so we had our first meeting last week, and we are going to, right now we're in the process of including a lot of the children in the process of coming up with some names. And we're having our next meeting on Friday, and we really hope to have something for our last Board of Ed meeting at the end of the year in December. We'll have about 5 to 7 choices. That's the goal.
All right. Was there any public? Because I have about 63 suggestions.
Was there any? I'm sorry.
And any solicitation from the public? I just haven't seen it.
We threw a couple interesting ideas around in the first meeting. I thought a new one I actually didn't hear was Newberry. I guess that's what Brookfield was called before. It was called Brookfield. Kenwood Elementary with something at the end. Kenwood Hill, Kenwood Mountain Elementary was thrown around. So there has been. I think Colette's actually here. She shared a post-it image of a bunch of names as well.
Okay.
So yeah, no, we should definitely have about 5 to 7 names for you by the end of the year.
No, I said I have about 63 suggestions on names I'd like to enter.
Absolutely.
So,
throw me an email, yeah, and I'll forward around. I appreciate it.
Perfect, thank you. And no, it's not the Dr. Burrell Memorial Elementary School.
Memorial, you're doing me in already.
That's right, John.
I can't
All right,
wait.
so
I can't wait to see the 63 names, Paul. I mean, since we have to name it after a physical something in the area, it
Yep.
can't be named after a person.
Nope.
I think there's not that many. We're going to call it the Elm Tree School or the Oak Tree School or the Underground Water Aquifer School.
Yeah, that's right. The Hairy Fruited Sedge Wetland School.
The Board of Education actually has policy about naming of buildings.
Yes, we do.
Yes, I do know that, and you know what? I will note that one of the local streets is Belden Hill Road. So,
Noted, Bob. Noted.
All right.
After
So
we-
from the
after-
NBC side, we're going to move on to our approval. So I need that motion read as it was by the Board of Education. Who's going to do it?
Look it up.
My memory is not got that good.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion that is it on the here?
I just chatted it to everybody so you can read it and just sub in the NBC.
No, we had a separate one.
Okay.
All right, so that the NBC approve the new school construction documents and authorization to submit to the Office of School Construction Grants and Review by Tecton Architect.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All right. All those in the favor of the motion as read?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? All right, motion carried. I want to again thank the Board of Education for coming on. I know you guys have a full schedule, especially with budget season coming around, and to join us this evening to take another night out. With the exception of Joy, who's all ready for Christmas with gifts wrapped and trees. I understand she's offering this service for everybody else since she's way ahead of the game.
Thank you, Paul.
It actually is.
Actually am.
That's wonderful. So our next regularly scheduled meeting is December 15th at 7 p.m. You are more than welcome to join us again if you'd like. But hearing no other objections, I'd like to adjourn the Board Municipal Building Committee meeting. Sorry, Freudian slip from days on BOE.
And without objection, the Board of Education special meeting is adjourned.
As is the NBC meeting. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Happy
Yeah.